Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the workshop. It is fantastic to have you here because we're working on a Damascus steel rapier. We're working on the components that are going to mean that this isn't just a blade, but this is hopefully a work of art. It's the hope. Can I do it? I don't know. The whole aim of the game is, however, we try as hard as we can. We have a lot of fun as we do it. And so thank you for joining me on this fabulous journey. If you're not here every day, come along, hit that subscribe button, get a feel for what Blacksmith thing's like. You know, give it a little hit with a hammer. You might want to expect some computer malfunctions if you do, however. We are going to be getting on with the episode. We're making a spacer to transition from the hilt straight into a really special handle that I want to put a lot of effort into. We've got to continue on with this. We're going to do some milling, we're going to do some cutting, then we're going to do some other stuff. Thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoy. Sorry there, folks, I lied. We're actually not going to do some milling straight away. It would be pretty silly if I was to do some milling straight away, because I still haven't finished the fit up here on the tang to our hilt, which goes this way. See, that doesn't fly in very far. So what we're going to do is we're going to finalize our transition here. We're going to give this a 6mm radius, or rather a 3mm radius. No, we're going to give this a 6mm radius on the side so that it works with the end mills when we cut out the other pieces with the mill. And we're going to file this out to fit. So we've just taken this teeny weeny little diamond bar and I've just used it to soften the hard corner there, the sharp corner. That way we don't cause as much of a stress riser when the rapier's used in combat. So now I can pull off the file guide. Whoop. Oh yeah, that looks lovely. Bellissimo. And we can put this little contraption in the vise. This is tough. I probably should have filed this to size before curving these tines. It would have saved me a lot of hassle. Oh well, let them learn, we'll make do. And so now we'll take our sword, we'll notice it hits on the top and bottom, not the ends. So we'll work the top and bottom until it hits the ends. It's filing time, baby. Right, so here's where we're at. We're about 1 1/8", or actually, no, I'd say about 1 inch away from where it is that we need to be. Now, you see, I've started using dun, dun, dun. It's not actually blue dicum. Blue dicum, I've come to understand, isn't the best transfer blue. So what I've got is this, which is Stewart's micrometer engineering marking. So this is supposedly much better at transferring over. Ugh, I can never get it open. No. Okay, well, it's closed forever. But it's this really deep blue stuff, and I've coated it on the tang, wiped it on there nice and thin, then jammed the tang in there. And now, if we pull it out, and we have a look inside, you can see where the blue is. Now, rule of thumb is, see the blue? Attack the blue. And so, wherever we see blue, we file. And we hit those spots, and I don't want to go too far, obviously. We're almost there. You know, we're talking taking ever so slight amounts of material off all 4 sides. Now, filing is extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. I am not very good at it. It doesn't help, obviously, there's all this here, but that's just really a great excuse for the fact that I don't really know how to file properly. And so this whole time I've been battling with, I don't have a flat surface in there. I actually have a very rocky surface that's tapered in the wrong direction. It needs to be tapered that way, but it's tapering that way. And it's actually convex as opposed to flat. And so I need to do a lot of practice in the future to eventually, hopefully, get good at filing. Which is obviously a little bit nerve-wracking because, you know, knowing that you're not good on filing while you're working on a piece that, you know, you spent, whatever, 3 days on, 3 days to make, leaves you a little worried that you might make a colossal mistake. So we'll now come in with a round file. Hit the ends where we see the blue. See the blue, attack the blue. I'll make sure our coating here is still intact. So I'll just even out the coating with some paper here. And we will jam it in. Oh, did I put it in the right way? Yeah, we went in the right way. We'll jam it in, pull it out. We'll see where the blue is. See the blue? Attack the blue. Poor Blue Stewart. He's getting quite the bad treatment today. Now back in we go with the file. What's reassuring is that with each progressive little hit there with the blue, we're seeing more and more blue, which means that we're matching it up very nicely to the actual tang, because the more we file, the more contact we get. Okay, I'm happy with that. We are now about 10 thou away from being home, which is good, which means that with a little bit of hammering, the very last fit up, we should be able to hammer it home. Ha! See what I did there? Wait, that's really not that funny, is it? That's such a... Oh my goodness. I should be banned from jokes. This is the first time I've looked at this on the sword without the clamp. Oh my goodness, does that look amazing. I am in complete shock that I was able to make that basket hilt. Now we have the fit up, and this is extremely... This is so... Look how cool this looks. Oh my goodness, that looks just so awesome. Goodness, that's cool. It could do with a little more space. Somebody with a bigger hand would struggle. It could do with a little more space there, because if you really get all the way up there, you know, you might end up hurting yourself. Back here, you have a lot more clearance. You know, you've got a ½ inch all the way around. But this, I'm just super duper thrilled with. Oh my goodness. I just want to look at it all day. Okay, we should probably get some more work done. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Right, I've decided that this blade is going to end up getting damaged. So I'm going to put some electrical tape on it. Top tip, don't use masking tape, because the adhesive on it will corrode the steel. Learned that out when I made my first sword. Another top tip, lengthwise strips with the electrical tape. If you don't do lengthwise strips, you wrap it around it, right? And then you can't unwrap it because the blade will actually cut each little half thing. So you then have to unwrap it by going one longitudinal piece. Let me speak English for a second. The reason why you shouldn't wrap it all the way around like this is because the blade will cut it, which means that then you try and unravel it and the blade's just cutting it as you go. And so you have to, you know, you have to peel off one width of tape at a time. You know, I'm trying to pretend like I've done the longitudinal strips of tape before. I haven't. I just think it's going to be easier. With a little blue dicum. Welcome back, my old friend blue dicum. We've now scribed the back of our swept hilt, which means that, it means that we can take our Starrett micrometers, which means that we can take our Starrett calipers there. Thank you, Starrett. Sent me a little care package there. And we can take our dimensions, 15.45, 7.05. And we can note them down. We can also take what is going to be that little spacer there and determine the length that we want to cut it eventually. So on this, I did say that we we're going to do 1/3, 2/3. I don't think I want to anymore. I'm going to go more like 1:1. It'll be different in some areas, but I think we're going to settle on about 18 millimeters. These are not the brand new Starrett calipers. These are now resigned to beta calipers. And so we'll make a scribe line at 18 millimeters. The previous take, you can see we decided that 22 millimeters was good. Changed my mind. And that's what editing's all about. Oh no, sweet goodness. And that's what editing's all about. There we go, scribe line at 18 millimeters. See how many days of stuff I can destroy. And now we take the fancy Starrett calipers. 14.78. 7.1. So a 7mm end mill is going to work perfectly for that, and thankfully we have just that in stock, just a millimeter shy. We have 6mm end mills. We're going to need to poke this down in there, and we're also going to need to move 0.5 millimeter on either side to get it to the 7mm in width, and hopefully we're going to be able to set this up in a way that means said slot is in the middle and will make it all look good. It's going to be difficult to hold. It's going to be very difficult to hold. I have no idea how I'm going to hold this. So I think this is what I've got to do. I've got a V-block here. We've got some copper behind it. I guess some soft material on the V-block would be good too. I think it should be fine. Now what I'd like to do is be able to, and I know I could do it. The question is, will I? See, what would be best if I had two flat spots here that were perfectly in line with how it is that I want the rotation of this to be. And then we can actually cut our angles by simply loosening it, retightening it, and changing the angle to get the exact angle, or ballpark the exact angle that we need. But I think what I'm going to do instead is resort to filing the angle, because we can really easily file that. So we're going to mill it straight, file it open. Filing's gonna take more time, but I just don't trust that I can mill 2 flats and keep it accurate on this weird piece. What I do trust, however, is that the way I've got it gripped here right now does just about have it straight up and down. So hopefully I've got it about as centered as possible. Taking a forged rough oval and having to somehow straighten it, difficult, but it's straight up and down. Or thereabouts. Now this surface here, obviously, it's pretty much about what I can work on for making sure that we're in, because I squared this up on the grinder using my eye to help really determine, okay, when I was grinding this, was I square to the grinding belt on all 4 sides? And so I'm pretty happy that I want to reference off of this. So if we give ourselves a reading, see, it's high. Okay, we got it within the flatness that this piece can have. So obviously this was done with a belt. Now a belt is not very good for actually making something very flat. And when I mean very flat, I mean, you know, you can't make something flat to, say, a 1/100th of a millimeter, a micron. You can't make something flat to a 1,000th of an inch with a belt, because what happens is, as that belt comes down the platen and you apply pressure at one point in the belt, it's gonna bunch up on you. As far as I understand, it's gonna bunch up on you, and so it's just almost impossible to keep something perfectly flat with a belt, which is why people use surface grinders to make things perfectly flat, because obviously that's a stone, so there's not as much give to it as there is with a belt that's able to kind of cup around a piece slightly, and it'll make things convex, and it's just difficult to do, especially because those higher grits that I was using, it'll actually jump on you. If it doesn't have the right seam, that jump is going to be setting you off. You can't keep things perfectly flat. This is enough for us to reference off of. What we're now going to do is reference this way and that way and see if there's anything we can do about it. Close enough. Great, let's do some milling. Okay, so let's have a look. I put it on the wrong way. Oh, buddy. I'm like, why doesn't it fit? Put it on backwards. Did I put that on backwards? I put that backwards. There we go, now it does fit. At last, at last. So as you saw there, we surface ground this piece after having actually faced off the first side of it, using that as a reference point for the surface grinder. That way we just know it's parallel, and we know it's parallel to the slot that we cut in there with the mill. Quite happy with how that looks. Obviously it's difficult putting a milled surface onto a forged surface. What we might well have to do is flatten some of this with a file just ever so slightly, hopefully without damaging that surface finish. But as you can see, that is the beginning of our handle. The beginning of a very beautiful handle, I do indeed hope. It's lined up pretty well. I like that. Right, so we now need to pick what is the material that we're going to use for the rest of the handle, and what better way to find some material than with a hammer. So without further ado, that's titanium. That's Delrin. Titanium again? A baby rattle? An antler? Well, that was rosewood. No. Paracord, titanium, 2 titanium, a brick? Because that's so much better than titanium. Okay, I appreciate the gesture and all, it's a brand new brick, but I really don't need a brick, I need handle material. Okay, it's a little closer, it's lignum. Used lignum a little while ago, we don't want lignum? Oh! This is a little better, this is ebony, okay? It's close. It's close. The trouble with ebony is it's a little brittle, so for a sword, maybe a toothbrush? Come on. Here we go. We're gonna get it on this one. Yes! We've got it! African blackwood. That's perfect. Whew. That took a while. Okay. Well, let's get started. Look, buddy, I said I wouldn't do this to you again. I know, I said steel, aluminium. Look, I know. Sorry, man, nothing we can do. Hey, we got to make this handle. How else are we going to do it? I know, it sucks. I know milling wood is bad. I know. Look, we're going to make sure we clean you down just perfectly afterwards. Make sure there's no wood dust in the ways. It is going to be just fine. Trust me. It's like 20 minutes. 20 minutes, all it takes. We're going to square it up, then you're done. Well, then we're going to slot the thing too. So, you know, like maybe an hour, something like that. Then it's done. That's it. It's all you got to, yes, an hour. 45 minutes is the best I can do, man. 45 minutes of milling wood, then that's it forever. Until the next time we got to do it. So we now have our block of African blackwood all squared up. We've got it to a known length. It's a square, good starting point. I can reference off any surface and be nice and happy with that, because we're gonna want to make sure that we can do all of this stuff as accurately as possible. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, what do I lose by being more accurate or attempting to be more accurate? Time. What do I lose by making a mistake at this stage? What episode are we on? Have a look below. Make sure that you tune in to the next episode. If you're here in the future, the next episode is the number on from this. I don't know what this is, but it's going to be down in that direction there. Make sure you go give it a watch. Make sure you give this video a like. Make sure you go check out the merchandise. Wonderful new merchandise up on the merchandise store. I'd be thrilled if you went and got some. Of course, as we like to end our videos now, hit the subscribe button, and I'm going to see you tomorrow as we continue on with the Rapier.